and told me I'm flood insurance, and I got to figure out how I'm going to pay for all this. And unfortunately, over the last 10 years, I've used a lot of my 401k up, helping my parents, which I don't regret at all. But so about 3 weeks later, he calls me back up. He's like, "So, how you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I was at the bank, and one of the officers there told me about a GoFundMe that they had one of their customers do. So I went out and I started this GoFundMe account, and hopefully that'll help me out a little bit." And he was like, "Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag." I go, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "Well, I started one for you 3 weeks ago." I'm like, "No way." I mean, blew me away. Just blew me away. So, just the unbelievable acts of kindness just from everybody is just overwhelming again. Anyhow. So, mainly, those have been going pretty good. And all the donations going through his GoFundMe are mainly coming from all my childhood friends and neighbors that I grew up in upstate New York. And then the one I started is mainly coming from all my friends and neighbors and the people I went to college at USC. So they're kind of running head to head. And so far, I've been able to raise, last I looked at it was $7,900. So amazing, amazing. And then I got a long ways to go, but again, I just want to go back to all the volunteers. And I can tell you one thing, and I'm not a small guy anyways, but the first 3 weeks of a disaster, you're not going to lose any weight, okay? Just people are bringing food left and right all the time. I even had people come out here and do my laundry, okay, which was awesome because my dryer was halfway full of mud and water and obviously doesn't work anymore. The washing machine made it, but the dryer didn't make it. So that's where that is.
How much do you think all of this has cost?
I don't know what it's going to end up to be. Part of what we were waiting on through the county and the state was how they were going to assess if we were going to be able to stay in our homes or not, was what they call a 50% rule. And what you do is they take out the value of the property and they just list the value of the house. In my case, the value of the house was $101,000 less the property. And they said if the damage was higher than 50%, then you'd have to either raise your house or abandon your house. And, obviously we were all just we're like, man, we got to raise our houses on top of all this damage. Raising your house is probably going to cost $30,000 or more. So that was pretty scary. So we got through that. We dodged that bullet. When they came in, they assessed this house at 38.4, which means around, $38,400 worth of damage inside the house. So I'm able to rebuild, and I don't have to raise my house. But if in 10 years another flood comes through here, and I get more than 12% worth of damage, okay, if you add that to the 38, that would be over the 50%, then I'd have to raise my house. So hopefully, cross our fingers, that's not going to happen. And for any of us, it would be devastating for the entire community. But we did dodge that bullet. So, I don't know what it's all going to end up costing me. Obviously, from the donations that I'm getting, the amount of work that all the people who came in and ripped everything out of here and tore everything out and we got it and dumped to the dumpster and everything else, that was probably $15,000 worth of work right there. The amount of work that's going to come in to rebuild my floors and the cabinets and the shelves and counters and all that's probably going to be another $8,000, I'm guessing. I don't know. And then you got the carpet after that, or tile, or whatever else you're going to put in. I got I have a half-acre fenced-in backyard where all my dogs would run all the time, and that entire fence all the way around, except the very back that's parallel with the creek, is completely flattened. So, which is good. I'm getting a lot of exercise now because I gotta walk my dogs 3 and 4 times a day. And but I was also lucky enough with my neighbors across the street, where they had about a 10 foot by 10 foot corral, where I can put a couple of my dogs in during the day, and they'll hang out there. and get a little exercise. But the other one I can't. He'll jump the fence and he'll be running the neighborhood. So, and the cats kind of got a little freaked out. They're not coming upstairs hardly at all. They kind of are staying downstairs all the time. They can get in and out whenever they want. So I just kind of got the food out here, and we're good. I think I kind of got off track here a little bit. Where were we at?
Has any cost had to come out of your own pocket?
Oh yeah. I mean, right off the bat, it's you know, just putting everything out in the front yard. I couldn't get a pot at that time, so I didn't get a pot, I think, maybe until 2 weeks after the flood. So, I had some tarps, but I had to go out and buy more tarps. So I spent probably, $250, $300 altogether on tarps. I lost my motorcycle. It was completely underwater. I lost my 96. It was an older Cadillac, but I still love that car. It was running great. That was completely towed because it was halfway underwater. I had insurance on those, so those were covered. My van that sat behind the Cadillac was broke down 2 weeks afterwards. The transmission, I brought it in and it had water in the transmission, so I had to come out of pocket. Obviously there's deductibles on all of these, but there's some other work that they found as well that I had to get done. So that was like another $700 I had to come out of pocket. I had to get the pod unit. That cost $423 just to get it dropped off, and right now it runs me with tax $193 a month. I had to get a rent-a-car when the van broke down, so that was $200 for the week. There's so many other incidentals. I just I don't know what they all off the top of my head, but it's just it's expensive. It's
Do you feel like you're finally getting your life back together?
Yeah, with all the support and everything, I've been pretty much in good spirits the whole time. I mean, you can't control it. You can only control what you do every day. So, what was tough in the beginning, and still is today, is I still have to work, and I have to bring in an income. So you don't know where to begin sometimes. That gets a little overwhelming. It's like, okay, where do I start today? What do I do? And I mean, there's so many things to clean, and there's so many things still you have to throw out. And you mess with the insides. It's just where do you start? You're always boxing stuff up. Cleaning things every night, and my yard's still a mess. And I got tarps everywhere still. My garage is half full. We had to after we unloaded it and cleaned the floor off all the mud, because there was about a ½ inch of mud throughout the entire house and the garage. Well, then we brought as much as we could back into the garage so it wouldn't get wet. And then I got a full pod, and everything that wouldn't fit in the pod is still under tarps. So,
is there anything else you want to say, or anybody in particular you would like to thank?
I mean, all the groups. I want to thank all the religious organizations. Again, Northside Baptist and South Carolina Baptist Convention, Christ Church, Team Rubicon, F3, FA1, Irmo Fire. They were incredible. There was a young lady who's here every day, even on her days off. I hate that I can't remember this off the top of my head, but there's a Westcott Acres put one of my dogs up for 2 weeks and didn't charge me. Actually, it might even been a month. Laura was the owner. Beautiful people. They're Red Cross. A lot of these people we end up becoming friends with, because we saw them every day on a regular basis. There was the Samaritan's Pride, which is part of Billy Graham. We had people here actually from Israel and Scotland that were actually helping me clean up and do work around here. There was a church group that bought my Thanksgiving dinner for me. I think it's called New Horizons. I should have been more prepared for this. There was a group out of Greenville. Greenville, I think Society was called, sent me a $250 Home Depot card. There were just a lot of acts, charitable acts, people coming up. I mean, I had a gentleman. He's one of my neighbors, and he wouldn't let me. He didn't, you know. I don't know where he lives. I'd like to find out. His name was Frank. Now I live at the bottom of a cul-de-sac, and I'm not in great shape, but because I get a little winded when I walk up and down the hill up here to Coldstream, to Cannondale above. And this gentleman walked down here, you know, probably a few days after, you know, this hit, and all my stuff was in the yard, and he was on some type of breathing apparatus, you know, obviously oxygen or something like that, and you know, came up and told me, there's nothing I can do physical, but he wanted to help out monetary. Pretty special.
That was awesome. No. Go ahead. Great job. That was a great job.